welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. Just Derek here today, back with another BareBones episode for you. Today, we're talking about The Hobbit. I just finished this last night. It's been a long time since I've read the book, probably back somewhere in middle school, junior high, somewhere around there. Be a little bit different today. Usually I kind of jot some stuff down, have a little bit of a plan as far as what I'm going to talk about, but not today. I'm not going to so much review this book. I'm not going to put a review on Goodreads or anything because there's probably about 50,000 reviews there already. So what am I going to say that's really any different than what's already been said? If you guys would give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever, helps us out, and we definitely appreciate it. But today, as far as The Hobbit, just kind of a quick overview of the book itself. You got Bilbo Baggins. He's at home. Gandalf draws a mark on the door, and a bunch of dwarves start showing up, and he gets kind of pushed into this adventure where they need Bilbo to be a thief and get some treasure back from the dragon Smaug, and just everything that kind of happens in between there. Like I said, I haven't read this book probably since elementary school, middle school, somewhere in there. I think my introduction to The Hobbit might be a lot different than a lot of people out there. What I remember first was when I was somewhere in that same age range. I'd be pretty confident I was still in elementary school, but my class, probably like the whole whatever grade it was in, we got to go to the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis, and we actually saw it as a play. And I don't remember a whole lot. I remember the actors going back and forth on the stage. They had some rocks set up and they'd go different ways, just kind of showing, their journeying and traveling and stuff. But I do remember the Riddles in the Dark chapter. That sticks out quite a bit to me. And seeing that acted out on stage was really cool. And it was a lot of fun to read that again as an adult now. I think this book, when I look at it as I read it, I felt like this is probably, like, yes, it's kind of the grandfather to fantasy books, but also felt like maybe you could extend that to like cozy fantasy. There's some violence in the story, but it's nothing super graphic. It's just, for the most part, pretty wholesome. Even though we do get a few deaths and that type of thing, but again, nothing. There's not a lot of description of heads being cut off or anything like that. As I was reading this, again, what probably my most recent experience with The Hobbit would be the movies that came out, whatever years those were. And as I read this, I remembered a lot of these points in the movies. And I was kind of thinking, how did we get 3 movies out of this one book? And I'm sure a lot of other people have that same thought too. But the main points from what I remember of the movies seem to be there. Obviously, things must have been stretched out, added, that type of thing. But it was fun to have that perspective as an adult now, going back and reading it, and just the style of the writing, a not so modern writing to what you would read today. I think if this was written today, it would be a very different book. So it was nice to step back in time and slow down and read things in a little bit different way. It was very enjoyable, and even like the songs, I feel like some people probably skip over those when reading. I don't. I try to imagine how they would be sung in my head. Not going to reenact any of that for you today. Since I'm not very comfortable singing by myself here, so I'm not going to subject you to that. But it was very, again, fun to reread this book that I was exposed to in a different way than most, and then did read it, and then the movies and all that, just to kind of connect all those dots and get the full story. I'm looking forward to sometime in the near future going through the Lord of the Rings, and again, I couldn't tell you the last time I read those, probably just as long as The Hobbit. So I'm sure there'll be very different feeling for me. So, some of the favorite parts of the book, the Riddles in the Dark chapter again. It was fun reading the encounter with the trolls and the barrels as they escaped from the Elf Kingdom and made it to the lake. Everything, it was just fun to relive that again, and had a hard time putting the book down once I kind of got into the thick of it. So really enjoyed it a lot, had a lot of fun. Looking forward to continuing on with Tolkien here sometime in the near future. Sorry, this is kind of a little different than kind of my other episodes, I guess, on books, but I have a feeling most of you probably know the story of the Hobbit. You don't need me to tell you about that side of things. So I just wanted to give you a little different take. So again, thank you for your time. If you can help us out, subscribe, like all that good stuff, spread the word, and we appreciate it very much. And we'll be back with you here soon. Thank you.